Hello, my name is Nishima Shiroti, and my topic is on endangered Indiana bat, the link between human and non-human activity resulting in species threat. And let's go right into this. The first question we will focus on is, what are Indiana bats? The logical name of the Indiana bat is Myotis sordalis, which is also known as the scientific name of it. Myotis signifies mouse ear. Mouse ear is similar to a rodent. Mouses have ears and they're huge, and that's what rodents are. And sodalis means partner or companion, and it's a Latin word for partner or companion, and that's what it means. And now we will go into the habitat and reproduction of the Indiana bat. Indiana bats usually rest during winter in caverns or periodically in surrendered mines. For hibernation, they require cool or moist places, usually under 50 degrees Fahrenheit, yet above freezing. Not many of these usually like the hot temperature places. After hibernation, they usually migrate to their summer habitat, which is in wooded areas. Indiana bats mate during the fall before they enter caverns to sleep. Females usually store the sperm through winter and become pregnant in the spring, not long after they rise out of the caverns and out of hibernation to other places as well. So now the question becomes, what's the leading problem or leading cause to this phenomenon? Or why do you think that these species are endangered? What's causing them to become endangered? What's causing them to be considered a species threat? Like what's causing them to go through that? And therefore, we're gonna talk about this as we just finished talking about what these Indiana bats are. There's many reasons as to why these bats might be endangered. But the main thing I would say is that they're losing their homes. The significant reason for the decrease is human impedance and harm, both to hibernation surrenders as environment and to bat nourishment sources. Impedance could emerge out of cavers, researchers, or vandals. These bats have constrained fat stores during hibernation. Any unsettling influence makes them consume off the stores, leaving them unprotected against the winter. Indiana bats pick up quite certain bits of caverns. This explicitness implies they have hardly any alternatives if a cavern is upset or ineffectively gated. It means that they block the passage. The bat's nourishment, like creepy crawlies or bugs, as people say, gets disease and explain the utilization of pesticides, which is not good. In this next slide, we're all going to touch on the base of what those problems are, separating them into human activity and non-human activity. Human and non-human activity leading to the phenomenon. Human activity includes human disturbance, as these animals are either trying to rest, they are disturbed by the humans. The humans do some type of things to disturb them. Cave caramelization or improper gating. The improper gating is when they bring in visitors to look at them as if they were tourists, and they couldn't rest in that type of environment to store up the energy that they need in order to hibernate, or when they get out of hibernation. That's also linked to human disturbance. Another thing is summer habitat loss or degradation. What I mean by summer habitat loss is that these bats actually hibernate during the winter, as I stated before. As they hibernate in the winter, they also need a home to when they go out of the hibernation, so they lose their summer homes. Like other people would say, summer vacation homes or summer condos or summer beach house. So what if you lost that and you have nowhere to go to have fun during the summer? That's what they lose. And you know the pesticides and environmental contaminants or contamination like makes them lose their food and all of that stuff. Non-human activity will be considered the white nose syndrome epidemic because it wasn't caused by the humans. It was caused by this plant that was in the forest alongside them. But the spread of the white nose syndrome raised a lot of genuine worries about the dry possibility of influenced bat species. So therefore, as you can see in this picture right here, those bats have the white nose syndrome, and they're likely to die off fast, and the population will like go. The population will decrease. Yes, the population will decrease. We are looking at this image right here. As the non-human activities, the bats will lose their homes and everything because the human disturbed them. And because of them losing their homes, they will find alternative ways to live their lives. They will probably go under like this. This is like a similar to a basement thing. They'll probably live under there. Like if you go in the basement and then you see this under there, you'll be like, oh my gosh, you'll be screaming like, what is this? That's where they'll find these ways. And in this sense, I guess the humans will also be affected by this too because they wouldn't like any type of bat living in their home, right? It's true. Analyze it and connect everything together. But first, we are going to answer this question. Why do they matter? Why do these bats matter? These bats are individuals from the order Triopetra. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it sounds right. It means signifying hen wing. Their wings really stretch from their bodies to between what might be their fingers. Additionally, it is similar to numerous flight gatherings. Bats can be exceptionally advantageous to humankind. Similarly, as with other 9 types of bats in Maryland, Indiana bats are bug eaters. One Gog expresses that a solitary bat, like one bat alone, can eat up to 1,000 mosquitoes in a single hour. Isn't that amazing? And usually most of these mosquitoes carry some type of disease. Indiana bats will rummage for bugs around evening time to close to the highest points of trees and close to running water. That means they hunt for these insects. So therefore, if we go back to the human activity, the pesticides that are used in farming and stuff, these bats actually go in those type of areas and eat those bugs. So imagine if the farmers use these bugs and they have chemicals in them. The bats have no way of eating them and probably also be affected by those chemicals that's going in their bodies. You're contaminating the bugs, the place. They're contaminating their food. This is why they're important. They're eating the insects that we don't need. They're clearing up the place for us. That's the importance and value of these bugs. No, of these bats, not bugs, bats. Population, how does this play in how they could be a threat to be extinct or endangered? The Indiana bat was recorded as endangered in 1967 because of a radical population decrease in its significant zones of hibernation, including Indiana, Missouri, Kentucky. In excess of 85% of the population sleeps at just 9 locations, and in excess of 50% spend the winter in just 2 known caverns. Indiana bats have been found in Cumberland, Gap National Historical Park, and Mammoth Cave National Park in Kentucky, and along Ozark National Scenic Riverways in Missouri. As the population decreases, they have no way of migrating right in order to avoid metabolic concerns during hibernation. So it's like they would change things because they usually hibernate together in a group, and if the population keeps on decreasing, they have no way of hibernating together in a cluster because that's the way they were made to hibernate is their insects. So it will be interesting to see how they will react to that. Because as some they would still try to like be in a cluster. As you can see in this picture over here, the bottom says a young Indiana bat hides beneath tree bark for protection. Why is it hiding on a tree bark? He should be really in a group of other people together instead of like being alone. So it's like they're creatures known to be friendly with their other companions, as it is as so Dallas means partner or companion. That's part of them. So if the population decreases, they have no way of grouping together and clustering together in order to hibernate. Things for them would change. In this picture, they will become like that, and they are probably like that about now. We'll also continue to analyze, but this part we're going to talk about survival rate. We're also connected to the population. Survival rate of the bats is based on the population. However, high endurance, typical conditions so that the species peril can be credited to naturally terrible showing in ordinary situations, meaning that you can't associate the species being endangered to like normal environment conditions like climate change. Climate change is an example. It can affect the species too. But in this sense, we're talking about whether like the conditions are corrupted by man that's happening. Meaning, in other words, we're causing them to lose half of their population. Humans are causing them to lose half of their population. Their survival rate will go down because of the population going down. The population rate will go down as they migrate to other locations because they can't find homes. There's no food. There's no way for them to hibernate peacefully. All these all these factors plays in the population decreasing, survival rate decreasing. All of that plays together. And we're causing that. And the other factor is the white nose syndrome. That also plays a role in that because if there's any other like diseases that are causing them to like not survive, that's what happens to them. Continue our analyzation. We're also going to talk about diet. What changes their diet? All in this that's happening. Diets. Most bats consume moths, beetles, flies, anything that's insect wise. But if they're usually contaminated, then that means the bats will likely die from the chemicals, as we talked about the pesticides being used in farming, because most of the time that's where all the insects are. They come out from there, and some of them eat off from the crops. As most bats lose their homes, which is mainly trees, they also lose food. In the trees, there's also insects around there. And imagine if they just come in and cut down the trees, deforestation, everything, they will lose their food. So like they find other ways to get food, which means that sometimes they go in other people's backyards to find foods, and they find other alternative ways. That way, that if there's no food, you will likely starve to death. Food depletion happens, or other places can be food insecure. Some animals can also be food insecure too, and this is what happens to them in this specific time. Now, you're wondering, we talked about bats. What's the events that's leading them to be endangered or extinct or become a threat to being extinct? Now we're going to talk about how it's connected to green criminology. Like, what's the connection between that? And now let's jump right into it. Yeah. The environment of Indiana bats were harmed due to human disturbance and loss of trees is due to humans harming the environment. Therefore, it is affecting the bats. This is categorized as an environmental crime because trees are getting cut down and farmers are using pesticides that kills off the bats' food. The green types of environmental crime include deforestation, which is what also happens in this, and annihilation to plant. Sometimes it's not plant, it's also the insects that they need to eat. That it says creature and human government assistance and rights that has gone with this procedure. The way to connect everything in here is that they are harming the environment, right? You harm the environment, it affects this type of group. Since humans are harming the environment in that type of way, as in they're disturbing them or cutting down trees or using pesticides to kill, pesticides that probably kills off some of the creatures that they need to eat, is harming the environment. Therefore, the um the bats are affected by it. But it can also be an environmental crime because if you look back, these bats were also protected a long time ago, and so today it will be considered an environmental crime because they are protected under the Endangered Species Act. In some places are protected for them, so that they have no way of like losing some of the bats because they're trying to protect them. Therefore, that this is how it's connected in my. And now, since we talked about how it's connected to green criminology, let's talk about or work on it. Preservation of the Indiana bats. How can we preserve it? How can we protect them? Well, there are multiple ways, and I will talk about this. Governments should be highly active in this, checking and looking over the bats, creating rules to secure them, creating laws of the how to log for trees, cutting down trees. Tree evaluation has been restricted to winter a very long time to affect direct take. That means some trees will be preserved so that when these bats go in hibernation, they will come back to a home, to food, and to everything that could be taken away from them. Government offices and other places protection associations should proceed with state funded instruction to um to take out anything that will endanger the bats itself and help the bats. You can also, protect the habitat, manage them, and find new locations for them, like some places. There's also studies going around as to how to preserve them in other temperatures because they're trying to preserve it because as they see the importance. Maybe and maybe also one thing that we also could do is be educated about it. Let's like educate other people. As in this PowerPoint, you all learned about the Indiana bats. What's the problem? How are they helping us? What are the factors leading them to might be endangered? And how can we fix that as people of this world? How can we protect other species as well from being endangered? Some of them are endangered and probably already extinct as well. Now we're gonna wrap up this presentation. What's the problem? The problem is habitat loss, human disturbance, pesticides, and everything propagating that's causing the environment to be, not the environment, them to be endangered. How they hibernate in big clusters and humans disturb them along with population decreasing. Why? The importance. They are important. They eat the insects for us, some insects that we don't need. And the population, human and non-human activities, as I mentioned earlier. And green criminology is the environmental harm that's done to the environment. And then the crime comes in as people just keeps on going in there, cutting the places, cutting the trees down, um, making it look like, making it look like as if these bats are like war attractions. Like people tour there, they went to see the bats, they will open it, like I said, in propagating. And then with all this environmental crime and harm, these bats become victims of it. They lose their homes. They might lose maybe their families too. They lose companions, as they're called, myotis or Dallas. They lose a lot of things. They can't survive. The population decreases. As days goes by on, they're coming. The population keeps on decreasing, decreasing. If everything is happening everywhere. And as I would like to wrap this up, I would like to say that maybe there should be more laws like environmental protection against some specific areas for these bats to have a home. And I do encourage a lot of you guys to learn more about this species as we learn in this whole PowerPoint, everything that went in together. I encourage you guys to go learn about this and be educated. Thank you so much.